All right, thanks for tuning back in. We are now going to go to East Lansing, where Mel Tucker is entering his fourth year as head coach of Michigan State football, and there's a lot of questions surrounding the team this year. We also found out today that 5 of Michigan State's opponents are ranked in the top 25 in the AP poll. That includes number 2 Michigan and number 3 Ohio State, along with the number 25 Iowa and number 10 Washington. So we're going to hear from Coach Tucker right now.
So I'll open up for questions. Anybody has anything for me?
Coach, we know scrimmages are a part of everything, but how much weight goes into the outcome of a scrimmage compared to game day?
Quite a bit, because it's the closest to a game that we can get. Some guys do well in meetings and practice. They have a hard time taking it and carrying over to games. So we have to, those scrimmage reps sometimes carry a little bit more weight. It's not everything. It's a part of the picture, though, part of the puzzle. We're trying to figure out, who can help us and what their roles are going to be. Yeah, you're welcome.
Mel, I'm wondering, when you get to this point where you're at 10 practices in and you got one scrimmage, do you have in mind, is there a separation point? Do you see some separation from some guys, or do you kind of keep it going all the way up to game week?
Well, we have another scrimmage come up this Saturday, and then there starts to become, the separation becomes more clear typically after that second scrimmage. And then midway through the next week is when we start to kind of develop the scout teams. And because, you can't rep, 3s and 4s. Game week, you just don't have enough time. You got the 20-hour rule. We can't be out there all day. So, wear the guys out. So, at that point, it's kind of, here's the too deep, for now. I've had guys in the past like, that maybe a true freshman that started off on a scout team at the beginning of the season and end up starting for us at the end of the season. So, it's not the end, for a player when if he's a scout team guy after the second scrimmage, but, we have to make some decisions, so.
And I was wondering, particularly with the offensive skill positions, kind of the playmakers, with the losses you had, particularly in the past game, this past offseason, just kind of who you see emerging, because there's obviously roles to fill.
Like I said, all 3 quarterbacks made plays. Trey Mosley was making plays every day. Montorie Foster is coming up big every day. Christian Fitzpatrick is looking good. He's a big, tall receiver who has developed. He's doing a great job on special teams also. Gates is making plays. Glover's making plays. Tyrell Henry's making plays. Our tight ends are Malik Carr is a big target. He makes plays when he's out there. Our backs are making plays. Carter, broke a long one. He broke another long one today. So I don't think we have a shortage of playmakers. It's going to be about execution and staying healthy. We got to get the horses to the race. We got to keep them out there.
Mel, developing quarterbacks in a scrimmage situation, do you have coaches on the field? Are they on the sideline up in the booth and simulating exactly what you can do during a game?
The coaches are on the sideline, except for Coach Kappa's on the field, usually for scrimmages. But everybody else is on the sideline, up in the booth, or both.
And last week, Jay was talking about the possibility that you would use 2 quarterbacks early in the season and evaluate it that way. Is that something you're thinking of?
Possible, yep.
The kicking and punting situation, I was wondering if there's any separation there, obviously with not much experience in either position.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much separation there is right now, but like Jonathan Kim walks in the door with a very strong leg, like very strong. And Rusty's doing a good job wrestling. Hank Pepper is back healthy as our snapper, so that's huge for us. You don't know you don't have a snapper until you don't have one. And then Eckley and O'Shaughnessy are competing like crazy. So, you know, we'll be productive there. I think we'll be you know, the kicking situation should be much improved.
Mel, kind of a mid-camp question. When you look, usually this time of the year, you got so many hot days and it's 80, 90 plus degrees. You guys had a little bit more of a cooler camp. Is that something that, as a coach, you would rather have guys push and strain through the heat, or do you want to kind of get different experiences, whether it be rain, whether it be colder, warmer?
Yeah, we have to be prepared to play and everything. I mean, a couple of years ago, we knew we were going to Miami, so during camp, it wasn't hot enough. You know, we went indoors and turned the heat up, you know, to get that work. So, you know, we'll do whatever's necessary to make sure the guys are prepared. You know, the number one thing we have to be as best conditioned, you know, so mentally and physically. So, I think it's easy for me to come up here and say I wish it was 90 degrees out there and the guys were, you know, cramping up and we had the IV guys and all that, but I really don't feel that way anymore. I mean, I used to feel that way, like that's the only way you could get guys ready, but nowadays, I mean, we just have a lot more information, you know, with our sports science people and, you know, Bill Berghardt and all the load management stuff, and, you know, we got heart rate monitors on these guys, and we know if they're in shape, if they're not in shape, and how fast they recover and things like that, and, you know, so we try to keep their loads manageable so they can play fast. We're playing fast. We have more guys playing faster in practice than we've had the last 3 years. You know, more guys hitting high-speed reps more often throughout the practices. So that's very important. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape right now. We have to stay healthy and continue to get better and practice hard and be physical. But we got to keep guys on the field so we can get better. We have enough good players to be good. We just don't have enough good players like to, you know, have a lot of guys hurt and still think we're going to be good.
Mel, you mentioned to us about the off-season with some intentional sort of team building and leadership initiatives and whatnot. I'm just wondering, at this stage of camp, are there any new faces that you're seeing sort of bear fruit in that regard? Other than, you know, we know Trey and JD and guys like that, but
You mean stepping up as leaders?
yeah, that have come as a result of those things you guys were intentional about.
I'm not sure if there's any new faces that kind of stick out to me. Is that, but we have our team chemistry is better. I mean, it's just obvious, you know. And we talk every single day about being selfless, and you know, we show demonstrations of that every day in practice with, you know, different guys, both sides of the ball, special teams. So, I do hear guys confronting each other, you know, which is important, you know, respectfully. So it's not always the coaches, you know, having to correct guys and things like that about, you know, everything. So, like we had like I said, we had a scrimmage on Saturday, and like someone overheard Hauser, because both quarterbacks, you know, their units scored early in the scrimmage, and Hauser says to Noah, you know, we have two scores. It wasn't like I have one and you have one, or I had one but mine was against the ones, you had one and yours was against the twos, or I had one, mine was throwing, you had one, it was a run. You know, it was just like we have two, that says a lot from that position about, you know, our chemistry at this point.
Well, obviously, just a couple weeks left here in camp, and then you'll be in game week. Is right now it all still about you guys and evaluating and understanding who fits where, or have you started to mix in any sort of game prep? And if not, at what point does that begin, or does that wait till that first week?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly, you know, about us, but we've done our out of season scouting reports. So, you know, we have things in our schemes that we're teaching that we know that we're going to need for the first few games. And some of that stuff is being introduced in like in the meetings and walkthroughs and things like that. But when we're going, right now we don't have really scout teams unless we're doing special teams. So right now we're just going good on good. We're running our stuff, our typical stuff against our defensive stuff. There's really no game plan. So but once we go to scout teams, then we'll get more specific with that closer to game week.
Mel, Izzo always talks about leadership from the point guard position. We've seen quarterbacks here who were three-time captains, now leading teams in the NFL. We've seen others who won a boatload of games, were never a captain. How important is it to get leadership at that position?
It's important. I mean, you're running the show, and you have to have the respect of your teammates on both sides of the ball. Guys have to believe in you, have to be accountable. So I think it's important. I think it's hard to have a good team if at that position you don't have, at least solid leadership. I've been a part of some good teams where the quarterback might not necessarily have been the leader, but he was respected enough, to where guys would play hard for him, and that's the key.
Mel, obviously, with your extensive experience as a player and coach in the Big Ten, and then the year at Colorado, what are your thoughts on adding Washington and Oregon and continued expansion of the Big Ten and what seems to be the Pac-12 crumbling?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good for the Big Ten. It makes us stronger. When you're recruiting players, high school guys or portal guys, I mean, who you play is a big draw for them in terms of, like, you just think about what type of schedules we're going to have and what type of, football and what type of competition it's going to be week in and week out. So it's a huge stage. It's getting bigger, and it's going to be even more competitive on the field. It's going to be more competitive in recruiting, and it just makes our league stronger, makes our league better. And it's important. I mean, you'd be surprised how many players, how many recruits we talk to, and they talk about, okay, well, SEC versus Big Ten. It always comes up.
Wondered about the nickelback position for you guys. You brought in a lot of different defensive backs, be it young guys that were here last year and some of the transfers. How do you view that position right now? And how many guys do you think could you plug and play there?
We practice, we rep 3 or 4 guys there. I think you always have to have 3 guys ready to play that position. And you need, you need 2 different types of body types, I think, at that position. It's helpful if you have it. You need more of a kind of defensive back, a guy that can maybe cover a slot receiver man-to-man in that position, but also can blitz and can get off of a block, on those perimeter runs or the bubble screen game, RPO game, things like that. And then you also need maybe a bigger hybrid type body, like Darius Snow, for example, who was a safety, who's played that position, who plays well in space, but is big enough to, show up in the run game, get off a block. If they put a big tight end in the slot, to block, someone who can strike that guy, knock him back, and get off the block and finish on the ball. So sometimes you need a bigger body, but it's an athletic guy, So, between the DBs and the hybrid linebacker kind of versatile guys we have, we're repping 4 or 5 guys there. Yeah, I remember that. He was a true freshman. He went in there in that COVID year and did well. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the more difficult spots to play, in my opinion. It's because you're a DB and a linebacker. If you're playing left corner, everything's to your right all the time. Everything is in here, in here, in here. And the corner's not easy to play, but when you're playing that nickel spot, you're left, you're right. You got plays inside of you, got plays outside of you. I mean, it's like you have to have a lot of awareness, and you have to be instinctive. And Jello, you know, one thing that he is a football player, and so, you know, as a freshman, he was able to go in there and play that because he is instinctive. He does know how to find the ball, and he's, you know, very competitive and he's tough. So, and then you're trying to find at least 3 guys that can play that position. So it's very important. I mean, Ross Ailes is our special teams coach, but he also works with the nickels because he's a linebacker coach by trade. So that's a good role where those guys can actually get some specialized individual coaching in practice and in the meetings.
Coach, you talked about the leadership and the quarterback position a little earlier. How have you liked that position as far as when adversity has faced them during this camp, and how much is that, how they handle that, go into your final decision when you make the final decision and lose the starter?
Yeah, it's going to be important. I mean, body language is big. You know, being able to go on to the next play because everyone's watching the quarterback and the head coach. Like when something bad happens, everybody's going to turn and look at me. Everybody's going to look. We're on offense. Everybody's going to look at the quarterback. Everyone. You know, so you have to have poise. You have to be able to go to the next play and have mental toughness. And so, you know, our guys are doing that, and they're getting better at that because, like, when you have guys that really want to be good, and they're competing hard. You know, when things don't go right, I mean, guys are disappointed, right? They want to win. You know, they want to win a job. They want to win the down. They're competitive guys, and so, you know, there's a fine balance between how you react after negative plays. You know, it's not like, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. No, it's not okay, and we do need to fix some things. You know, so it's not. You know, you don't want to have unearned positivity. But at the same time, you got to be able to learn from the last play, good or bad, and then move on quickly. Like I told the quarterbacks, I mean, like, how would it look if you threw an interception? You saw me bent over with my head down for 10 seconds on the sideline. That'd be demoralizing to you and our team. I can't do it. So I got to learn from it, and I got to move on to the next play, and I got to help guys get better the next play. Same thing with the quarterback spot. So we're getting better at that. I like what I'm seeing so far.
Mel, with about 15 practices left this fall camp, where do you want to see the team improve the most so you're not having times where you're putting your head down during practice?
Can you say that first part?
Where do you want to see the team improve the most with about 15 practices left in fall camp?
I haven't been in practice with my head down since we've been, and it rarely happens in games, so that's not part of what you're going to see from us. You know, what else you want to know?
Just like, where do you want to see the team improve, maybe? What areas do you think can get better?
Yeah, well, we need to be able to run the ball better, you know, on a more consistent basis with all the groups that are in there. And that's tight ends blocking, and that's running backs. And listen, this season, when people ask me about the run game, if it's not, because it's always not what you want, hey, I'm not going to put it all on the offensive line. I never have, okay? Like today, I'm watching practice, and if a tight end misses his block, everybody on the O-line's got their block, man, and we can't run the ball. Or if the running back doesn't hit the hole right, like we got a hole there, he doesn't hit it, I mean, the hole's not going to be there forever. We're playing Power 5 football. I mean, so it takes all, and then today, Gates made a huge block on Carter's big run. He doesn't even score if he doesn't go in there and dig out that safety. You know, so the run game, and then you got to get the checks right. I mean, we're not just going to run the ball over here when they got too many guys over here. We need to run it over here or do something else. So it's a whole package, and everybody contributes, you know, to the run game. And you need to run the ball better, but we're making progress. And then, you know, we need to stop the run better and split safety defense. Man, we just can't drop a safety down, you know, all the time and think we're going to stop the run that way. We need to be in split safety defense and play big boy ball and be able to, you know, knock guys back and control blockers and throw them on the ground and finish on the ball with maybe one linebacker in the box, you know. So we can take some pressure off our back end a little bit. I mean, we got a huge defensive line right now. If we can get these guys to the game, we should be stout, and we got our linebackers back, and they're nice-sized dudes, you know. So run game on both sides of the ball. We need to I just want to know exactly what to expect when we go out there and play in that first game. Right now, I'm not exactly sure.
I'm sure every practice to a coach is important, but are these a big couple of weeks now as you go into your game week because players are tired, they've been practicing a couple of weeks? Is this where you start separating the men from the boys here in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, every day we're trying to separate guys. We try to put them in positions, and like, I haven't really seen anyone back down. I mean, I've actually seen guys get tougher out there. So, it's going to be interesting to see, like, how good we get, how much improvement we make, like, this week and then in the scrimmage. Because that's when I really start honing in on, like, who are the guys, like, who can make plays, and you may call that separating the men from the boys. But we actually really need everyone to be good. Like, that's the only way we can have a good team, is we can't just have, like, these 30 or 40 guys over here who can play and all these other, we got 115 guys out there. We travel like 70 dudes, right? So we can't have, like, 30 or 40 good players and the rest of these guys can't play. So we don't even coach like that. So I don't even want, like, the men over here and the boys over here, because that's how we get beat. I mean, we need everybody to be over here. So that's why every day is important, and we just can't, like, we can't stop coaching all of the guys. Like coaching all the guys that's not like a joke for us. I mean, because, like, you got, like, Khalil Majid was out there playing for us last year, like, out there playing in games. He's a walk-on. You got Justin White was out there, like, playing for us. I mean, we got guys out there playing for us, they're, like, true freshmen out there playing for us. Guys out there playing at 170 pounds. Like, well, during that game, it don't matter. I mean, is he a man or a boy? It don't matter. He's out there, right? So we got to have everybody ready to go. Not looking to try to separate guys. We're trying to bring everybody along. All right, thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, just 18 days out from kickoff, and that was Mel Tucker speaking as he enters his fourth year. There's still a lot of questions coming about the team when it comes to starting quarterback, along with suspensions. We also know now, as the top 25 came out today, that 5 Michigan State opponents are going to be ranked in the top 25. That includes number 2 Michigan, number 3 Ohio State, along with Penn State, Washington, and Iowa coming in at number 25. Our Joey Ellis and Fred Human were there. You may have heard them asking some questions of Tucker. They're going to have more on this coming up a little bit later on News 10 at 6 p.m. Of course, we will also have it online. You can check that out on WILX.com, as well as all of your favorite streaming platforms, where the WILX app is free to download. You can catch everything from previous newscasts to behind the scenes, even some throwback videos from the late 90s and early 2000s. So we hope to see you then.